So we were going to go to the land. It's Sunday, and we were working yesterday all day, but this deep urge inside me came up that I realized, we live in an Earthship, and in this video you'll see more about the Earthship. And we have clay on the walls. This is mud and straw, a bit of straw, mica. The Earthship is a self-containing, off-grid house that's like a ship on the mountain, and it needs a lot of care and attention. So we weighed things up this weekend, and we thought, well, we've only got one day. Tomorrow we're going to look after our grandchildren for a couple of days and work. So we've decided today is a day of starting to nurture the needs of our own home where we're living at the moment. So the land we'll get to probably next week, but this day, which is the only day we have, is tending to our beautiful Earthship. I know you're going to love this space, and we'll share a lot of it as we go along.
So this is, you could say, the oldest part of the Earthship. You can see I can't even stand upright. After the guy who built this Earthship expanded the Earthship, he turned this into a laundry area. We had it covered in mud, and due to various reasons, including a flood a few weeks ago, the mud has suffered. So we're scraping the mud off, and then we're going to re-plaster the mud. So the mud is a very beautiful, healthy wall covering. It's much healthier than the paints with the volatile organic compounds, but it takes a lot of maintenance, which is nice because it's a way of expressing our love for our Earthship. So what I'm doing here is the mud is like a sponge, so every little bit of moisture, anything liquid will leave stains, but then you just sand it, and by sanding it, you're smoothing out the surface, and then you can add more on top. And the beautiful thing is this is from our region. This is mud from very near here, so it's like we're, not every Earthship has mud walls, but for us, this just makes the space so much cozier and lovely to live in, but it takes maintenance.
So this Earthship was built 35, 40 years ago by someone we bought it from, and it's the old style of Earthship. So the original Earthships were actually built in this town that we live in, and this is one of them. And the southeast facing windows were always on this slant. They later realized, in a place like New Mexico where there's a lot of sunshine, this gets very, very hot. Luckily, we have quite a big Earthship, so the rooms go quite well back, which prevents a lot of the overheating. So these are the windows. We renewed them about 3 years ago because they'd got old and water had got in between the two panes. And now I'm just cleaning, and again, all natural materials, flagstone flooring with the mud all throughout the Earthship. Upstairs it's just wood. So the aim is, a self-regulating home that keeps it. We very rarely, even in the depth of winter, need to light the wood-burning stoves because the thermal heat from the fact that it's built into the mountain keeps us warm with these windows that are bringing the sun rays in. And so that's it. We're deep cleaning.
So the reason these Earthships were built way up on the mountain is because the mountain serves as the thermal mass. So what you see here, the floors and the wall are actually the rock of the mountain. You can see the sort of sloping shift in the wall like buttresses. That's the wall of the mountain. The stairs are hewn from the mountain. The only bit that's tire walls, which you can recognize by the bumps, is built above it. So the sun heats the Earthship. That's why it's south-facing. So the south-facing mountainside was like the ideal place to build Earthships, other than it's really steep. So even in the middle of winter, within a half hour of sunrise, it's nice and toasty in here. So as Kathy said, we never have to make fires, except when it's been overcast for days or for ambiance. Let's go outside. So there are two main challenges to being up here. One is that we don't have a well. So what you can see here is a pipe that collects rainwater. And the rainwater gets off our roof. And a few years ago, there was very little rain, and our cisterns actually ran dry, and we had to haul water. But this summer, we've had a lot of rain, and so our cisterns are full. and there's filters to filter the water, and then we have a drinking water filter for the water we drink. And in addition, if you look at this way, you can see the very tip of our solar water heater. So for our hot water, we just use the power of the sun. We do have an on-demand backup propane water heater, but we haven't had to use it in a number of years. And you can't see it from here, but next to the solar water heaters, our solar electric photovoltaic panels. So we're off-grid. We upgraded that system a few years ago, so we're off-grid electric, off-grid water. The other big problem is, as you can tell, it's really steep here, so we really don't have any flat land to grow any appreciable amounts of vegetables for food. We make little efforts, but it's just not the surface area here. So that's one reason we were so excited to get our land, because here we have no water other than what the rain brings us. And on our land we have 3 sources of water: well, a sequoia, and river. And the beautiful thing is, if you look in the background, these mountains you see are the right behind those mountains, so about an hour away, less as the bird flies, is our land. So it's very close, and so we stay here and go over there to get it ready to farm and get it ready to stay there in summers. So one of the principles of an Earthship is to use the water as little as possible or reuse it as much as possible. So the water from our shower and bathtub, which goes here, let me show you, goes into this planter. So underneath here is however much what's called gray water that we generate, and that gray water goes into a pump, and then that goes into the reservoir for this toilet. So we don't flush our toilet with fresh water, we use gray water for that. It's got its challenges, but it is a way of using water over. And some more new Earthships, they use the water 5 times over, we use it 3 times. So the first time is to take a shower or bath, the second time is for the plants that are growing here, and the third time is for the toilet. And then from the toilet, obviously it's black water, we can't reuse that, we have a septic system for that. The other part of our off-grid Earthship is our solar electric system. I'll show you the panels in a little bit. They're top of the roof, we have about 3,500 watts. Then here's the charge controller and everything. Nowadays these come pretty much prefabricated, and I'm not going to show you the batteries because they're tucked away under the floor here. They're lithium batteries. The advantage is you don't have to top them off with distilled water, and you can fully drain them. You know, lead acid batteries, you have to constantly top them off with distilled water, and then you can only use them about 6% of them, and they're quite heavy. And again, having sulfuric acid in your home is a little annoying, and the lithium batteries are completely sealed and safe, and I think they have 100,000 charge cycles or something, so that'll be good for a few years. So we generate our electricity on the roof or above the roof with the solar panels through the charge controllers, charges the lithium batteries, and then the lithium batteries, there's an inverter here, powers 110 volt appliances. Older Earthships, because the amount of electricity that could be generated wasn't that much, often have 12 volt systems, because you lose a lot of power or energy when you go from 12 volts or 48 volts to 110 volts. So the advantage is that the 110 volt appliances are a lot more reliable. So we used to have a 12 volt fridge, now we have a 110 volt fridge. Works so much better. And we use, pointing here, there's some LED bulbs, 110 volts. We used to have 12 volt bulbs. They were okay, but they were just very expensive. The other thing I forgot to mention about the lithium batteries is that you don't have to trickle charge them like lead acid. They charge instantly. So on a sunny day like today, our batteries were full about an hour or 2 after sunrise, and that's really nice. And we could expand the system, we could add batteries. The main advantage of that is, at the end of December, early January, sometimes there's a few overcast days, and maybe we don't generate as much electricity, so we'd have a little more electricity, but we've just learned to live with that. In winter, if it snows, I wipe off the solar panels. That makes a big difference, obviously, because when they're covered in snow, they don't generate. But our electric system is meeting our needs. And again, we're not heating. I just want to show you, as you see, it's a sunny day, and so everything here, the walls and the floor, are being heated by the sun during the day. And so that means that we keep the door open because it's actually quite warm. And then all night long, the floor and the walls give off the heat, and that's what's called thermal mass. And again, that's sort of the core idea why this community was built, because this, what you're seeing here, is actually the rock of the mountain. The rock of the mountain is our thermal mass. That's where the heat's being stored, and that works a lot better than if you build an Earthship on flat ground and have nothing behind it. So, and then it also allows you, as you can see, allows you to go a lot taller. So we have 2 stories. Some Earthships have even more stories up here, but again, 2 stories is perfectly fine for our needs. And the other thing that we really like, as you can see, our rooms are quite large. Many times Earthships have quite small rooms. There's a design principle. You can sort of see it from here to here. This is what they call a bay. So there's a certain maximum size of, there's some formula that tells you how much solar gain you get. And so we actually have a 2-bay Earthship behind me. There is the second bay. Some Earthships in the greater world community have 4 bays, because if this middle wall wasn't here, it wouldn't store and heat up as efficiently during the day. So a bit more about Earthship design. You can see the weight-bearing walls are rammed earth tires. So Kathy's third son Yona filled all of these with earth, and it's thermal mass. It's a great use for tires. Right now they're exposed to the elements, but they'll be covered in concrete, and then they don't off-gas. So as Mike Reynolds said, rubber tires are endemic to everywhere on the earth, and this is a good use for them, again, when they're covered. So I wanted to point out a few more features of the Earthship. So here is a skylight. So the idea is that when you open this, and it's cantilevered, which is kind of cool, so you don't need any power. When you open it, then the air gets pulled out the top, and it creates a draft throughout the Earthship, and that cools it off. You can see some of our solar panels and our solar water heater, and this is a solar water heater with the evacuated tube. So this works also when it's overcast, and even though we do have a backup on-demand propane water heater, we haven't needed it in about 2 years, even in the middle of winter, because this solar water heater works really, really well even when it's overcast.